What's going on YouTube? My name is Amisbro. For this video we are doing episode 27 of the anime review series. Tonight we are going to be looking at an anime with a very interesting crossover. The series in question is Revolutionary Girl Utena, excuse me. And the reason I say it's a very interesting crossover is because one of the people who helped create the series, or at least the anime, was also a director of Sailor Moon. Yes. The individual's name was Kanehiko Ikuhara, and they were a director for some of the seasons of Sailor Moon and some of the movies, eventually moving on to greener pastures. They ended up teaming up with Chio Saito to form B-Papas, which is the group that actually published the series. It appeared actually in some anime extra novels. I actually had two of them. I have one of them actually behind me. You won't be able to see it if I... Anyway, and it's a very interesting story in that it starts out as a very whimsical fairy tale, but turns into one of the more bizarre and dark series you will ever watch. It is 39 episodes long. There are a grand total of, well, there's 3 sagas. At least that's how they're distributed in the box sets that I own. There are technically, if you want to really break it down, 4 arcs. Okay? Student Council, Black Rose, Akio Otori, Apocalypse. Well, if you want to break it down to just 3, it's Student Council, Black Rose, and Apocalypse Saga. Okay. Story revolves around a young lady named Utena Tenjo, who ended up at Otori Academy because she received a ring with a rose seal on it from a prince. Now, she doesn't know what this person looks like because when she was, I guess, younger, she really didn't really either A, get a good look at him, or B, you know how memories can be. You don't remember people's faces from when you're younger to when you grow up. So she didn't know who this person was. When he gave her the ring, he said, "If you don't lose your nobility, you will find me again someday." Well, the thing is, she didn't want to become a princess, she wanted to become a prince. And she would start wearing a boy's uniform and walking around the school that she went to back home, as well as Otori Academy, where she ended up and where the anime takes place. If you read the first volume of the manga, there's actually a prologue that gives you the entire story of how she ends up at the academy. And it's a very, very good one, actually, because it gives you a lot of detail. Detail which actually is not explained in the anime at all. But it's not really that necessary, only because the story that the 39 episodes tell is a very interesting one. I mentioned that there are 3 arcs. Well, 2 of the arcs use the same set of characters. 1 arc doesn't. The 2 arcs which use the same set of characters are the Apocalypse Saga and the Student Council. The one that doesn't is called the Black Rose. Here's the gist of it for each one. Okay, Student Council. The Student Council once possessed the Rose Bride, so they challenge Utena. Well, let me start from the beginning. One of the members of the Student Council, named Seonji, ends up as the man who is engaged to the Rose Bride. Okay. Well, he becomes abusive towards the Rose Bride, whose name is Anthe Himamiya. And other members of the council notice this. Togekiru, Juri Arsuwa, Miki Carter. Those three mention that a new duelist is coming, but nobody knows it's Utena yet. The only thing they know is that one is coming, and they get their messages from End of the World. Who this is not revealed until the very end of the series, practically. Things get interesting when Utena notices that Seionji slapped Anthe. And at one point, because he sees her rose crest ring, he challenges her to a duel. The duels take place in a place called the Dueling Forest behind the Rose Gate. And duels are contested in a very interesting manner. Basically, it goes like this. Two duelists they go up onto a platform high above the ground. One is always the champion. They are the one who possesses the Rose Bride. The challenger is trying to win possession of the Rose Bride. The person who is successful in defeating all their challengers while having possession of the Rose Bride gets to go to the floating castle above the dueling grounds. Well, here's what happens. When the duel starts, the duelists will point the swords at each other like normal, and then it goes. The objective is to slice a rose from the breast pocket of your opponent. It's relatively simple. Actually, it's really simple. The thing is, each duel, in theory, had a theme. And depending on the duelist, it obviously, was different. For example, Juri's was miracles. The final duel is called Revolution. Okay? So, we go through each one of these duels. And the student council wanted to possess the Rose Bride. And when you get to the next section, which is called Black Rose, they wanted to kill her. But the thing is, when you go from student council to Black Rose, you literally change the theme of the series. You go from, or the tone of the series rather, you go from the whimsical fairy tale to all of a sudden a dark and in many ways twisted story. Because you see, the plan of the individuals that were in charge, Soji Makage and his friend Mamaya, not only did they want to kill Anthe, but Mamaya was going to take over for Anthe as the Rose Bride, even though Mamaya's a guy. Yeah. Do you see? This series was breaking rules well before some animes were. Trust me. It should be noted also, by the way, that in some countries that were actually televising this series, outside of Japan, they would not show past a certain point because of some of the themes that were being aired. For example, the idea of a brother and sister having an openly sexual relationship, or at least borderline, and this happens. Yeah. Not to mention the relationship between Nami and Toga can be considered borderline as well. But what are you going to do, right? So for 39 episodes, this is the journey you take. You go from when Utena wins Anthe all the way to the final episode. And in between, there's emotional highs, there's lows. There's also bumps in the road as far as the way the story is told, however. You see, I mentioned this is 39 episodes. However, you could have literally cut a bunch of these episodes out because there were episodes that did nothing as far as really furthering the plot along. Matter of fact, one of the characters, up to certain points, Nanami Kiru, could almost be considered a comedy relief character. I know technically she's not, but the way some of those episodes went, you immediately thought that's the way they wanted you to look at her. And that's not really the way you should look at her, to be honest. Juri Arsugawa is by far my favorite character. First off, and forget for 30 seconds that she is a lesbian. That has nothing to do with it. She is probably one of the strongest characters in the series. Can she be manipulated? Maybe, but I don't really see her as being the type of person that's going to let you screw around with her all the time. She's going to get you back. One way or the other, she's going to get you. That's the way her mind works. Mickey is another one. Mickey I liked a lot too, although his stopwatch was a bit curious as to why he... No, I'm serious. He has his stopwatch, and he would always click it. And why, I never understood. I don't know if they ever really explained it. Matter of fact, Donami actually makes a joke about it during one episode, asking what the deal is with the stopwatch. I think he's timing how long it takes someone to finish a sentence, but I can't be sure on that one. Like I mentioned, there were episodes that I felt didn't do the plot all that, do the plot justice. I thought they were more filler than anything. And while yes, it's not a bad idea to have levity, especially if you get to the darker episodes of the series, the idea that you do that sometimes when it shouldn't really happen kinda throws you for a loop. Also, they do recap episodes for every arc. Okay, fine. But here's the thing, right? Okay, I watched this on Hulu, just so we're clear. But when I watched it on Hulu, they made it one season, 39 episodes long, instead of breaking up the arcs, so you wouldn't have like season 1, season 2, season 3, season 4. So knowing the start and stop points of each arc sometimes, unless you've seen them already, is actually the hard part. I had seen actually the Student Council saga 3 times now, and the Black Rose saga once. Okay? So I had an idea where they started and stopped, really. But at the same time, it was like, Also, here's where it gets confusing. I mentioned that there's technically 4 arcs. Okay. In the old days when they were putting the series out on DVD, the only one that was really available in single form was what they call the Rose Collection. That was a Student Council arc. That was 2 DVDs long. Then there was the movie, Adolescence of Utena. Okay. The other arcs would come out later. Now, I have 3 DVD sets, but here's the way they're labeled. Student Council, Black Rose Saga, Apocalypse Saga. Okay? That's it. They're not really labeled anything differently, or if they are, I wasn't really paying attention, which is not like me. So, when I'm watching it on Hulu, because I don't know the start and stop points that well, trying to figure out why there's a recap episode kind of makes you go, huh? Also, I will say this. During the end of, we'll call it the second arc, the Black Rose Akio Otori arc, there was an episode which was a recap episode, and then there was an episode which, for like half of it, felt like a recap, and then the other half started the episode. Really. So I'm sitting there going, so what the didn't you just do a recap episode? Like, it drove me absolutely nuts, to be honest. I liked a lot of the characters. I did think... Okay, here's the thing. Who shows the English dub? Nanami's voice actor was, at least to me, goddamn annoying. Especially when she's, like, using her whiny voice talking to her brother. Like, oh my god... I wanted to take a pencil and puncture my eardrum after listening to her, to be honest. And no, I'm not saying the dub was bad. I'm just saying that character's voice galled me. I couldn't... Ugh. However, I will say that the person they had for Utena, Rachel Lillis, was really good. And fun fact for you people who watch Pokemon, did you know that Rachel Lillis, who plays Utena and Choo Choo in this series, also played some of the Pokemon characters through that series? Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. Also, for anybody who... Here's a tie for you with Sailor Moon. If you're a fan of Kotono Mitsuishi, aka Sailor Moon, you might be interested to know that she played Juri. Yes, she played my girl, Juri Arsugawa. Which, here's the funny thing about Juri. I've seen it spelled with her first name spelled with a Y, but I've also seen it spelled with an I. I always spell it when I spell it out with an I. If I'm spelling it wrong, my apologies, but that's the way I've always spelled it. But anyway, here's the thing. There were episodes in every arc that I felt, even if I was watching them straight through, were boring as hell. Like, boring. It revved up towards the end, but sometimes the valleys kind of outnumbered the peaks. And you would sit there on your hands going, alright, what am I watching? Although, to be fair, I have found that there were times when I was watching the filler episodes where I was commenting more on those episodes because they gave me more really to talk about as opposed to the other episodes. Which is kind of not a good thing. It's kind of a detriment, if you ask me. So here's the question. Is this series really a legendary series? It's a good series. I will recommend it, but it's not going to be one of my top 5 anytime soon. To get into that list, you really need to be on your game. And to tell you, the animes on that list are top of the charts. They're top of the shop, as they say, in, I believe, England. Well, I'm going to say, do give this a watch. However, you have to watch this series with an open mind. They do cover the following subjects: a potential brother-sister relationship. They do cover the idea of gay relationships, lesbian relationships, and bisexuality. And keep in mind that this is 1997 around the time when the series came out. So the idea of this actually being done without being censored really shows you they were willing to break every rule that you put in front of them. Every rule. And for that, the series gets the recommendation just on that alone. Oh, and one other thing. I should mention this real quick. If you are a fan of Love Stage, if you've seen that anime, you may know that the animation group was JC Staff, right? Check this out. In 1997, guess who was the animation studio behind Revelation Girl Utena? JC Staff. Yes. So, literally speaking, 17 years before Love Stage, they did Utena. I thought that was actually a very interesting piece of trivia for it. So, do give this a watch. You just have to go in with an open mind, because there's a lot of subjects that may make some people uncomfortable. And if they do make you uncomfortable, don't watch. That's fine. You're not going to hurt my feelings. But give it a watch, and I think you'll enjoy it in the long run. Anywho, you all have a good evening, and the next time I speak to you, well, we will be talking on Monday, because we have to get ready for Utena week. Yes, folks. We are officially, as of the time of this recording, 1 week away from the boys coming back in town. Until then, my friends, you have a good one, and I will talk to you later. Take care.